All right, welcome to episode 3, Harbor City Local TV, hanging out with Jesse Hall, and welcome to the studio, Little Rob, the owner of 518 Underground Skate Shop, Traditionals, Shaves and Brew. Shaves, Cuts, and Brew?
Shaves, Cuts, Brews.
And also, most of you know him as the guitarist of the long-running Coldside hardcore band. Kind of the godfather of the scene around here. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. What's up, everybody? How you guys doing?
And Jesse, welcome.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. So, Rob, wanted to get you in here because there's a lot to talk about. You're a busy man. First, how's retirement treating you?
It's good, but it's actually not too much retirement, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. You're coming up on your 1-year anniversary of 518 pretty soon, huh?
Yep. The end of May will be our 1-year anniversary.
Awesome. And how's business going? How's 518 working through the skate community?
Everything's been going pretty solid. Super busy. We didn't think it was going to blow up like this, but it's actually blown up very, very much, man.
Yeah.
So it keeps me and Tony definitely super busy.
Yeah, so that's a combination effort.
Correct.
518, a little collab between, because it's like situated right between Standard Collective and Traditionals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So
And you just turned like a little corner of a little, I mean, I remember that was a Standard Collective stage.
Yeah, we're taking over the block. We're trying.
That's right.
I'm with you there. Now, speaking of Tony, the entry music you heard, that is the Easy Uzis. Tony's the front man of the Easy Uzis. They just played with some punk legends, right?
Yep. Field Day originated in Canada. Now they're based out of California. And 430 Steps from Orlando, Fortitude from Daytona.
And Field Day used to be, or some of those members?
They originally were from a band called Dag Nasty from the 80s.
Dag Nasty.
From DC.
Yeah. They also played with Agent Orange not too long ago, so a couple great shows for the Easy Uzis. Now, you brought up the Standard Collective stage, which was a great stage at the music festival in 2019, and then COVID kind of changed some views of what's going to happen there. Was a skate shop always kind of something that you wanted to do, or did you see an opportunity?
I mean, I've always wanted to do a skate shop since I was younger, but in all actuality, that was gonna be a bar.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were originally gonna do. We were gonna do a full liquor speakeasy type bar between Traditionals and Standard Collective.
Gotcha. And now, when did the conversation change? Like, how did that kind of come up to go, you know what, never mind, pause that, we're going to move into this?
I mean, Tony and I were both been skating since the early 80s. We've known each other since about 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened, the bar thing wasn't going to work out. So we just sat down and said, you know what, let's just open a skateboard shop. Let's just go for it. Something we're both into. And there's really not a core shop in the community.
No, you're right.
So
I think it was a great, turn there. I know COVID is a negative thing, but it really, I think, cleared the heads of a lot of people to focus on some of the things they love.
Yeah.
And you can, not only is it something that was necessary, like you said, but you can tell it's a passion. You guys put a lot of work, a lot of focus into that, so you should be proud of it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's also created the opportunity for you guys to kind of create some skateboarders in the area. Who are some of the better skaters that we should be looking for that are from Brevard?
Yeah, we have some talent here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely younger guys.
Sorgente and a few others.
We have Jack Koza. He skates for us. Mm-hmm. He's 13. He's an up-and-coming ripper. He's been placing second and first in a lot of contests against 29 and 30-year-olds.
Wow.
Timmy Knuth.
Yeah.
Shout out to Timmy.
Timmy's been ripping for a while here.
He's an old-school ripper.
Yeah.
Jake Yanko's another ripper in town. Skates for Resident in Palm Bay.
Mm-hmm.
We have Dan Cochran, the Outlaw. Corey Coherd, just to name a few. Danny Wagenblast.
Yeah. Very cool. Now, you got more going on than just skateboards at 518. you also have a pretty stellar record collection there.
Some decent vinyl.
yeah.
I've perused this selection. It's quite nice.
Now, you were just in an article in the Livewire magazine
Yep.
based on your own, your home collection.
Right.
So vinyl, another, thing that you're focused on, kind of a love of yours. What does most of your vinyl consist of?
I mean, obviously, I'm more into the punk and hardcore aspect of that. I have a lot of jazz, and I have a lot of old rock and roll, but mainly it's punk and hardcore is what I've been collecting since about 82, 83.
Is that what correlates over to 518, or do you have a lot of different eclectic selection at 518?
We have a eclectic selection. We do a lot of alternative. We do new wave, punk, hardcore. We try to do a lot of the old school hip hop, which seems to be very popular again.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot that's popular again.
Yeah.
And, with that idea of what's popular again, Rob brought up that he's been here for a really long time with Tony and the scene. And Jesse and I have talked about, I moved here in 2002, pretty much just in time for everyone to tell me that I missed the scene, that I missed what was, Brevard punk and Brevard music scene. But you lived it. You were a part of it. You've been jamming with some of the same characters for a really long time. Tony, Ogle,
Yep.
Alan Merrick. Hey, Alan, up in Michigan. So what were some of your early bands?
As far as Melbourne,
Yeah.
so I came here in 88. The main club we had here was 2225, which was in Melbourne. And every iconic punk band played there, as far as Social Distortion, Dr. No, Circle Jerks, Life Sentence, Cro-Mags, Murphy's Law. I could keep going on and on with that, but we had pretty much every hard-hitting band play here within a 2.5-year period at that one club.
At 225?
2225, Progressive
2225.
Nightclub.
Nice. And that was in downtown Melbourne?
That was right outside of downtown Melbourne.
Right outside of downtown Melbourne. Now everyone keeps telling me about Fat Cats.
Fat Cats was actually where Meg O'Malley's is right now.
Yeah.
And that was, I believe, the second bar in Melbourne and the first bar that do shows in downtown Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
They had shows there such as Baby Gopal, Agent Orange. My old band Crypt Daddies played there a bunch of times. Tons of local bands from the scene.
Now, who was your singer for Crypt Daddies?
Paul Wren.
Yeah. Paul Wren was now this is going on a tangent. Paul Wren was the original singer of my band back when they were called Zombie Jesus.
Yep.
And completely different band. With some really great characters. I'm glad that I was able to move into that and transform into what we are now. But your wife also played with them a little bit, right?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she was a second vocalist in that band.
Nice.
Yeah. And so she's kind of your teammate with the whole skate idea, right? She does skate also.
Yes, she does.
What does she do?
She's a barber, at Traditionals. She's also the owner of Traditionals with me. But as far as skating goes, she pretty much skates pretty hardcore, bowls and parks and everything. No inline or derby or anything like that. Pretty much sticks to the parks and the gnarly stuff.
Yeah, you can check her out on Instagram. She's always posting her videos and her pics. She actually posted a pretty great pic yesterday with some rad graffiti on the back of on the bowl.
Yeah, that was in a Sarasota park.
Sarasota
Oh,
Park.
nice.
Yeah. But she does roller skates, which has become pretty popular again.
Yes.
Do you work on roller skates at 518?
We have a small selection of stuff right now, but we're actually going to get into that pretty big here within the next year.
Oh, fun.
There's so many girls in this town. I mean, I could name 50 plus right now.
Right.
That just rose up in the last couple of years. So it's definitely blown up. So it's something we want to definitely get into.
And roller skating is not just for ladies.
No, you're right.
I mean, I know some good dude roller skaters.
You're right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when they post, they're just as into their gear and their accessories as the other skaters are.
Yeah.
When it's coming to trucks or when it's coming to boards and all that. Now, what is the female? What do they call themselves?
Chicks and Bowls.
Yeah. So check that out on Instagram, CIB. And I see that all the time, and there are some great skaters happening. I saw a couple girls the other day doing cartwheels up the ramps and stuff, and
Nice.
it was pretty crazy. So 518 skate, roller skate, vinyl. Now you also are working on, I think with Wayne, your drummer. You guys are working on your own clothing line that they can come and check out at.
Yeah, we've had it for a few years now. It's called Near Death Streetwear. It's pretty much just hats, shirts, stuff like that right now, stickers, basic stuff. We've had it for about 10 years.
Yeah. But
That's
it's
a while.
it's a good way to support. It's a good way to show local. It's a good way to be a part of, that type of community. Streetwear, 518, traditionals, standard collective, all those different T-shirts you can come and pick up, stickers. Now moving into, like we were talking about, this is kind of a partnership with Traditionals, which is your bar.
Correct.
And so you have Becca up front cutting the hair, and then who's in the back?
One of our best friends that we brought back here, we actually kind of forced her to move back here from Chicago when we were opening the business to work for us. Her name's Colleen. She's one of the badass bartenders in town.
Yeah, she is great. She's also been featured in some magazines, and she's a roller skater. But yeah, Traditionals, it's a history lesson when you go to Traditionals. Rob's mentioned some of the bands that have come to Melbourne in the past. If you're interested in really learning about the history of punk rock and not just talking, go to Traditionals, check out some of the names on the walls, look them up. You'll get a history lesson just by being at Traditionals. Look around at some of the art that's on the wall. Some of those figures that are in the art are old school punk rock characters. And also some of the art has been created by some of the old school punk rock and hardcore characters. Like I know you have some art from Danny in there, right?
Yeah, Danny, one of my good friends, Danny Diablo, Lord Ezak from Scarhead, New York City.
Yeah.
We have some stuff from Casey Dakotas, Steve Caballero.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a history lesson.
Mike
when
Gallo.
I like seeing the retired skateboards on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
The
nostalgia.
ones in the bar actually are skaters that come to the bar and hang out. That's boards they actually skated.
Nice.
So we put those in there so they can come in, and it's little conversation pieces,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. And you've just started to do some live music at Traditionals, right?
Yes, we remodeled the back area, and we can have just single musicians playing back there. And we've done 2 shows. It's worked out really well so far.
Nice.
And you got Wolfie coming in this weekend?
Yeah, Wolfie's doing a farewell show. He's going out of town for about a year, so we're gonna make him some extra money to get out of there, and he's gonna do his one last show in Melbourne.
Yeah. I heard he's going to live in his van for a year,
Yes.
which that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Some Jack Kerouac stuff going on.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Nice.
Dharma bums.
Right. Very cool. Well, as all businesses grow, do you see anything that you're looking forward towards the future for 518 or Traditionals? You guys are growing and you're adding the music. You're doing so much. So is there anything else that you're thinking about? Well, we could do this.
As far as furthering the businesses, I
Yeah.
mean, I definitely, the skate shop's definitely blown up to the point where we're probably going to have to expand that. Traditionals, we're definitely looking to do our liquor license, hopefully on that.
Awesome.
Other businesses, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always wanting to get my hands in something. So
I'm
yeah,
with you there.
I have a couple of things going on. But
Nice.
Yeah, and EGAD's growing so much. There's a lot of new names in the area, but they're connecting with the locals, and it's part of our cause is to hold them honest to what we're doing here, and so far they seem interested in it. For instance, with the guy that's one of the guys that's buying up a lot of the property is letting Derek Gores put an art mini golf thing in the Fusner down there. And we're
Dreamland.
Yeah, Dreamland.
That's going to be
Yeah.
fun, dude.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
open for 3 months, I believe.
3 months.
Yeah.
The soft opening is today. And Harbor City Local is actually helping out with the music. We put some speakers and are lining up some of the bands that are playing more like acoustic and DJ stuff.
Cool.
Chuck Kelly, Chuck?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
doing DJ Saturday.
He used to do our goth nights at
exactly.
Traditionals.
Yeah.
Ghouls night. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, need that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, cool. So 518 traditionals. Now, as we're coming to your 1 year anniversary, I know we've talked about doing an event together. June 11th, mark that date. We're looking to have some fun over in EGAD and bring out some skate ramps, some music, some vendors, and basically just have a great day of punk rock vendors, skating, and is there anything you want to say about that?
Just it's cool because we can get people involved in kind of our lifestyle and some of the stuff we like to do. As far as the vendors go, the music, the skateboarding, it's going to be a little bit different than your typical pottery and stuff like that. It's going to be more skateboarding, surfing involved, clothing, custom stuff that people make, and just trying to keep our friends involved in everything and expose them.
Right.
Is kind of what I'm.
No, and you're right about that. It's there's. I'm going to go off on a on a capitalist tangent here, but a lot of what we do and what the history of punk rock and hardcore has been, it can be taken and turned into a product, and you can see that happen in places in the mall and all these different things. This is going to be a representation of actually meeting the community, actually talking to individuals that are a part of it, rather than just pretending, for lack of a better word. And that doesn't mean that you be you, pretend if you want to, But if you're you're interested in skating, you're interested in punk rock, hardcore, and actually learning about the culture, this would be a good opportunity, because it is a culture and it's something that we really feel strongly about. Which brings me to your band. You've been in Coldside for a long time. When I met you, it was called Stronger Than Hate.
Yep.
And there's some different lineups there. But we talked about the history a little bit. Let's go through. We never really mentioned, and other than Crypt Daddies, I know you've been in. What are the bands that you've been in with Tony?
It's Point of Anger was actually our first band, which was around 92, 93.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Coldside after that.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Awesome. Yeah. I remember sitting in your guys' storage unit with your old singer. Tony came out, and I forget the guy that came out, but you guys were doing like a 3 vocal thing. And I saw that guy at Traditionals the other day, and we remembered that night. And that was a great night. And I think that's kind of one of the points that Tony started to reconnect with you guys and started to come back to Coldside. But now when Coldside started with Tony, you also had a second singer, right?
And it was Opie DeFore from Maine was singing for us on. He came to Europe with us the first time, and then he did 2 LPs with us. Yeah. And then he ended up moving back, and we just went with a single vocalist.
Yeah, and it's worked out.
It's easier to travel that way too.
Easier to travel. I've noticed that you've, as of recently, or the last album, have kind of gotten a little more into the punk rock roots of what you guys are doing. We're gonna check out a video pretty soon here of Tony and Opie, one of their songs. But you will also going to see that there are some cameos in this video, and they're pretty important cameos. How did you get connected with some of these legends of hardcore?
I've been in the scene for a long time, and just meeting people at shows. I always went out of my way to meet people and try to get the connections I need from my bands too. Mm-hmm. We got Roger Murray. He's the godfather of hardcore, from Agnostic Front, New York City. He's a really good friend of mine. I've been tight with him for years. His little brother, Freddie Madball, which is another huge pillar in the New York hardcore scene, probably one of the biggest bands now. I became friends with both of them over the years, just like I said, just networking and putting on shows with each other. And Roger's actually the guy who brought our band to Europe for the first time and kind of got us set up on the label and everything.
How was that first tour in Europe? Like, was that new for a lot of you guys? I know some of you guys have been touring for a bit.
That was, me and Alan had already been to Europe before that previously, in I believe 2001. with another band we play with. But that tour was a 30-day tour, and it was pretty amazing, man.
Yeah.
It was really cool. We lived on a double-decker tour bus for 30 days,
Wow.
us and Agnostic Front, and it was super cool.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. I imagine that's a bit of an education also, traveling with
Yeah.
some people that have been doing it for, 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
That's great. Anything that, without incriminating your guys' self, that you can tell about the tour? Any fun stories?
I mean, it's just a lot of late nights,
Mhm.
a lot of partying. It's not all cracked up to what everybody thinks it is,
Mhm.
unless you're Motley
work.
Crue or Guns N' Roses, something like that.
Right.
These tours are a little bit different. They're more work. We focus on the shows more. It's not everybody just getting hammered and partying. It's, which we do party a little bit, but it's we more try to focus on the work and getting our name out there. And we wanted to get Coldside known and just play good shows.
Well, you've done that. Has being in that community, has that helped you to make the connections to bring some of those bands here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Melbourne is with having Orlando around the corner. It was kind of hard. Everybody bypassed Melbourne,
Right.
and I kind of talked some of these bands into say, hey, give Melbourne a chance.
Mhm.
We're centrally located. We have the Daytona kids, the Vero kids, Fort Pierce. Orlando will come here,
And we got the beach.
and-
Go hang out at the beach.
Exactly.
and they started playing here,
Mhm.
and they loved it. And every show pretty much sold out. I did it either Debauchery or Iron Oak Post, or
Mhm.
wherever we did them.
Mm.
But,
Yeah.
and the beach. They love it. Yeah.
And those are great venues.
Yes.
We do have some small, intimate venues, which for some of these guys, they don't need another arena. They don't need another big auditorium.
Right.
They want to see their fans right in front of them.
Melbourne's just small, and they just got used to going to Orlando because
Right.
Orlando's bigger, and they're like, Melbourne. And once they got here, they're like, wow, this is a great scene you guys have.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things there. And I mean, you've traveled around Florida and done shows, but a lot of the locals, 430 and stuff, when I talk to them about, where they're touring and, people come to the show and, they love coming here. They understand the history and the enthusiasm that Melbourne has for punk rock and hardcore. And it's not like that everywhere. A lot of other places, we're doing a show. Okay, we're going to the punk rock show. But here, there's a level of, punk rock ownership, as opposed to just going to the show in another town. And these local, other local traveling bands, they tell me about that. And it's interesting to hear them talk about that, because when you live here, you almost don't realize it, because this is just our life. This is just, where we hang out. But hearing other bands talking about coming here, because they know that they're going to have a level of family and community rather than just being at the show, is pretty interesting. I would say, a big shout out to Carlos Santana,
Yeah.
for helping out with a lot of that. Josh Hudak, and, these guys are, booking shows, putting together shows. Josh just had Reverend Horton Heat play here not long ago. That was a great show.
Great show.
Carlos has Weed Eater coming, which is a stoner rock band,
Nice.
which shameless plug, 60 Foot Giant will be opening for.
Yeah.
So get your ticket for that. But there, it's interesting to hear other bands that are traveling want to come here, and that's just developing our growth. We have a pretty good venue. I know not everyone knows about it, but you've seen the plans a bit. We got a good venue going into EGAD soon, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much we can talk
Yeah,
about
no,
it,
how
but
much
it's definitely going to be rad.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big venue. I think they're going to bring national acts. It's going to put
that was a plan, like multiple kind of
Mhm.
spaces with one big central entertainment kind of concept,
Right.
surrounded
Yep.
by other concepts.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So that's
Very good for Melbourne.
No, extremely exciting. Extremely exciting. So, and that's not too. That's like walking distance from your place.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
gonna be. It's. I mean, trust me. That whole corner is gonna blow up. I can't wait.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what's happening over at EGAD, because it's a balance of growth and economics,
Right.
with the artists and guys like you, Derek, that are trying to keep the area, to a point, an art district,
Right.
while embracing the new money, the new economy. That's not an easy thing to do, because money wants money. They're as long as they can make money, they're making money.
Right.
And it's good to see that they're wanting to connect with the community a bit. But it is, a big part of Harbor City Local and what you guys do, and is to hold them accountable for our own, culture here.
Right.
Awesome. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot it. And so we'll go into this video. And this is going to be. You want to introduce this video?
Yeah, which one are we doing? Here?
Outcast Thugs and Outside.
Yeah, so this is actually the title track of one of our records. Came out a while back, featuring Roger from Agnostic Front, Freddie Madball from Madball. Something we collaborated with on them. We brought them into the studio in Melbourne. Zone Productions with Mark Brazel did the recordings on this one. And I don't know, pretty much goes from here. Check it out.
You'll notice a lot of local spots in here.
All right, let's see if we could load it and see if it'll behave here real quick. And I'll turn on. There we go.
All the kids on the outside looking in, dedicated to the angry. Proud of the ones who fight the battle from within. For the outcasts, thus all the kids on the outside looking in, dedicated to the angry. Proud of the ones who fight the battle from within. I can't remember way back in the day how we'd all been sword and we were meant to play. But we found each other, we can't forget our style. One thing for certain, we never lost our heart. It's not the same to ever say. Show the world what we live for every day. Give them a revolution so they feel the pain. Expose fears with the hate they can't restrain. On the outcast, dogs and all the kids on the outside looking in, dedicated to the angry. Proud and all the ones who fight the battle from within. For the outcast, dogs and all the kids on the outside looking in, dedicated to the angry. Proud and all the ones who fight the battle from within. Looking back, when we were kids, the battles we fought, the crazy shit we did. We rallied together, made them hear our black. We were all a fun, and now we can't deny. Just want to live, to have the choice. Fight the system, let them be your voice. We can defeat the terrorists, we can make the pay. For all the peace, just involve their mistakes. For the outcasts, thoughts and all the kids on the outside looking in, dedicated to the angry. Proud and all the ones that fight the battle from within. For the outcasts, thoughts and all the kids on the outside looking in, dedicated to the angry. Proud and all the ones that fight the battle from within. We'll stand together no matter what they say. I'm friends forever until the dying day. Take time to revolve, this we can't avoid. We are the light of all tiders with one voice.
Well then,
All right.
I counted like 5 vocalists. It seemed like everybody had a vocal part on that track.
Well, talking about those cameos, who were those cameos again?
So Roger Murray from Agnostic Front and Freddie Madball from Madball.
Yeah. Those of you that don't know, that's big. Now, you watch these videos, and if you've never been a part of or heard anything from hardcore, you're probably going, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Right.
But you're missing the message. And with anything, whether it's punk rock, whether it's hardcore, whether it's blues, whether it's hip hop, there's a level of knuckleheads involved, and there's a level of reality involved, and there's a level of honesty involved, and you can really zone in on what you're interested in. This song, Outcast, Thugs, and Outsiders, if you're listening, it's talking about those that aren't being represented, and that they're going to be represented whether you let them or not. And I don't know what's more American than that.
Amen.
So there's I grew up on blues. I grew up on a lot of Chicago blues. I'm from North Chicago, and to me, it's a lot of the same message. It's just in a way that speaks to me and that I believe in. Just like I said, everything has a level of honesty and everything has a level of knucklehead to it, and so you can choose where you're at in those systems. Me getting into punk rock, I grew up with some older friends and my older brother, Charlie.
Yeah.
That big metal guys, big thrash guys. I grew up on a lot of thrash, and I was starting to get into punk rock. And my brother would bring home tapes, and he'd be like, "Here, you'll be into this. You'll be into this," because he knew what I was getting into. And he would throw me. I remember when he threw me a Fear tape, and then he threw me a Minor Threat tape, and then and I'm just this little kid, figuring out what it is, and understanding that no, this is it. This is where I'm at. And that's kind of broken into everything that I've done, levels of integrity, brought it into what I want to do personally with education. It's a big stand behind what Harbor City Local is and why it's important for us to do all these different community, things together, because otherwise someone else is going to take it and someone else is going to promote it. And it might be in a way that is not really focused on community or art or what we're all about here, from punk rock to the King Center with and what we're doing here in Melbourne, especially as we're growing ridiculously. So I'm going off on a rant here because it's what I do. But how'd you get into punk rock?
I pretty much got into skateboarding and punk rock I'd say about 82, 83, and I'd just look in I'd go to the record stores in downtown Providence and start digging through records and stuff, a lot of rock, and I stumbled upon the hardcore and punk section and started looking through the record covers, and I was just in awe from the artwork on these record covers, and I was like, man, I bought Fresh Fruit for Rotten Vegetables from the Dead Kennedys. Was my first record.
Nice.
I remember I went home to my cousin's house, and he goes, you're not playing that in my room. He goes, go in Melissa's room, which is my other cousin. He said, you can play it in there. I remember putting the record on, and I'm listening to it, and I go back in his room. I said, man, PJ, something's wrong with this record. What's going on with this? And he came in, he goes, what's the matter? I said, why is it so fast? Is it on the right speed? And he was just sitting there laughing at me.
Nice.
I was like, I told you not to buy that.
Nice.
And it's just, whatever. But from there on, I just, I loved it. I loved the fastness of it, the message, and just being a part of that group, getting into that is, it's unlike any other.
Mm-hmm.
We accepted pretty much anybody, any kind of outcasts, anybody who felt like they weren't part of the jock scene or the preppy scene or whatever. We took them in and made them feel like they had a home with us. And we created our own thing. Nobody ever, we were never in the limelight. We were always the underdogs, and that's what kind of we liked about it. And that's kind of what kept me involved and what got me into it.
And that's why I keep bringing up things like blues and stuff, because it's a very similar idea of, outcast music. Hip-hop is outcast music. That's where it started. And now these are multi-million-dollar selling, artists. Same thing with the punk, in the late 90s, early 2000s, the pop punk blew up.
Yeah.
And while there's, plenty, at this table that don't identify with a lot of that music, it did bring it to a lot of different people and open the doors for, some people to market differently. And it's also, I think, allowed some of these bands that are old, like Field Day,
Right.
and to still be relevant and still be able to play right now, while they're relevant in our minds. They still need to come and play the show and make the money and do the tour.
It's good to see, like you're saying on Field Day, the older bands too. It's good that these younger kids can see these older bands still play and see where the stuff started at.
Right.
And it just didn't start with all these other,
Right.
MTV, all that whole, and that's just it's all good and everything, but that's a whole image. Like this stuff started like way underground. We had none of that stuff growing.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see the kids can see all these older bands now, and you know.
And you're right. And it's funny, if you listen to some of the old, you know, I'm going to go off another tangent here. Some of the old records, and like one of my tapes, when I had a car that had a tape, one of the only tapes I had was Dead Kennedy's Frankenchrist.
Great
and
album.
and I would just listen to that over and over. I had Minor Threat over and over. But one of the songs on Frankenchrist is MTV Get Off the Air. And it was almost, you know, prophetic listening to that song and how the disservice that MTV was doing to themselves and ultimately destroyed themselves, I think. You know, even though they're still multi-million-dollar, you know, billion-dollar industry, there's no music happening there. So a lot of these bands were, you know, they had levels of relevance to, you know, politics, and then you had those that were just wanted to come out and either make you think or really make you not think, you know, really just make you want to have fun and get in the pit and just, you know, Murphy's Law is one of those bands.
Yeah.
I love Murphy's Law, but they just want to party. That's all they want to do.
Yeah.
And it's great. I know, you know, there's people that are G.G. Allen fans.
Oh wow.
You know,
That's a name drop.
you know, I've
don't,
never
don't,
actually.
don't look him up though. Don't watch any of his videos.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. You know, I know he's iconic, and I've never really been a G.G. Allen fan. You know, Rob's known me for a long time. You know, I'm a pretty clean character. So that guy didn't speak to me, but he's a part of the, you know, the spectrum. So yeah, getting off on that rant.
Yeah, the far spectrum.
The far
Yeah,
spectrum.
Yeah,
definitely.
cut himself on stage spectrum.
But just like you can go into any punk show or even metal show, you're going to see Ramones T-shirts. You're going to see G.G. Allen T-shirts, and whether they actually listen to them or not, you're going to see it. So there's a level of, you know, icon to those, you know, personas. Ramones especially. But
yeah, you can buy that stuff anywhere now. That's
Yeah.
It's more of a trend than anything else. You know, kids see that name and they're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna buy that shirt." You know.
Well, same thing with CBGB shirts. You know,
100%.
you know, there's people wearing them. Like,
Yeah.
there's no gift shop. That thing's been closed for a while
Yeah.
now. You know, it's like, but it's an icon.
Right,
You know,
right.
if you're gonna do New York hardcore, you got to wear CBGB.
Right.
You know, you just have to do it.
And you know, I don't want to move into too much of an elitist type situation,
No,
but it's
no.
just understanding.
It's
you know,
history.
It's
Yeah,
history.
you have to understand like the roots.
Yeah. Any comments, Jesse?
No, I'm just, you know, I kind of fell into, you know, similar, you know, listening to Rob's story with the punk scene. I mean, I had a punk band in high school. You know, I think most of us probably did. If you're still in a band today, miss it. You know, I mean, we had the best times. You know, I mean, and it was loading up the van and going to, you know, either a private party, you know, or some.
Making no money.
No, there was never any
That was
money.
still fun.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, there was borrowing drums from other bands,
Yep.
you know, or a back line, you know, so we'd all get together and we use one PA system and sometimes we'd use, you know, guitar amps and everything else. We were a bunch of kids, you know,
Right.
we had minimal resources, you know, we're trying to rub two nickels together, and but it was all of it. It was a skateboarding, you know, and then skateboarding, and then going to a punk show, still sweaty and gross from skating earlier, and then moshing, and then maybe doing like another skate session after that, you know, in that scene, and of course South Florida was entirely different. I mean, we had a really vibrant scene. All kinds of like, you know, acts would come through down there. So we were blessed coming up here, like both of you. You know, we all kind of migrated from other big markets, and we come to this area. And for me in '95, when I arrived, it was you know, New School Dropouts, Scooby Doo's, you know, some of those guys that
Scoobies were good, man.
that were hanging out. Yeah, so for me it was again a similar story. You know, coming from somewhere else, but finding that love for punk. And you know, picking up a guitar for the first time and starting a band and all that excitement, you know, it was reliving it and especially passing it on to the younger generation. I love that you have reissue skateboards there. Like I could see my Mike McGill's and some of our
Yeah.
Powell, you know, stuff, and And I was skating Foundation and New Deal, all throughout, growing up, and I'd love to see those retro boards, reprinted. It's like it's nostalgic. I walk into the skate shop, and anyway, so I really appreciate everything you're bringing to our area, and keeping it relevant. Keeping our music, our kind of heritage, that counterculture that I think we explored went mainstream. Now it's kind of going back to like that sub culture,
it's
a little
ours.
bit.
You can't tell us what to do. Nobody can.
That's right.
Yeah. We run our own scene. That's the good thing.
And we saw like Epitaph and take like that punk resurgence in the '90s and kind of mainstream mainstream
Great
it
label,
out.
though.
Yeah. But it was like, but it wasn't like your Far Out or Lookout or some of those other smaller labels.
I like Lookout.
So,
Lookout
oh,
was a good
so
one.
good.
Yeah.
And so the Epitaph came through and did like Punkorama and some other.
Yep. Great compilations, though, man.
Yeah.
I mean, great artists, but it was just like Punkorama. Like, I'm not gonna carry that CD. Like, I'm a true hardcore guy. I'm not doing it anyway. No, it's just been great seeing the parallels, because I think a lot of us have similar stories and backgrounds and keeping that scene alive. I mean, I'm not walking around with spiked hair and certainly not not donning a mohawk or studded shoes and boots anymore.
If I could grow it, I'd still have it.
I'm with you on that one, Steve. Me too, bro.
If I could grow it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we need to start that. Take off our hats, grow whatever we can. Just spike it up. But that's all the input I have. It's just it's like memory lane.
I do remember. So into punk rock, but I remember me and Charlie were walking through a flea market in North Chicago, and he's going through the CDs, and he pulls up a Sick of It All CD.
Nice.
And he had heard of them. I hadn't heard of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he bought that, and we listened to that probably for the next week, just straight.
Yeah.
And that's when, okay, this band is fucking great. And then a buddy of mine goes, well, if you like that, you'll like this. And that's when I got Ball of Destruction.
Oh, man, that record's so good.
Yeah. And that's what kind of led me into that side, instead of just, certain levels of punk rock into the hardcore.
And Sick of It All brings it.
Every time.
They bring it to this day.
Every time.
They are. Craig Sitar is a good friend of mine, the bass player. Those guys are like one of the hardest working bands in the hardcore scene, too.
And they play with really anyone, which is great. I've seen them play with a lot of different bands, from Dropkick Murphys to like Rise Against.
Face to Face, Less Than Jake.
And they're always trying to bring the younger guys in and give them a chance too, just like Agnostic Front does for bands. The guys who aren't on labels and stuff, they search them out and bring them on tour.
Right. I see them posting about that, too. They're very community minded.
Yes.
Which is great. Did the hardcore and the punk kind of come at the same time with you, or did you get into what brought you into the hardcore?
I got more into the punk scene, but back then the punk had already been kind of old by the time I got into it, and the hardcore scene was already in place. It's weird how they split up bands back then. Like, I don't consider a lot of people consider Dead Kennedys being hardcore. They're punk to me.
I agree.
They're not a hardcore band.
Right.
Yeah.
Hardcore is Slapshot, Madball, stuff like that. But it was definitely I got into punk first.
Yeah.
Just
now, there are levels of people that will look at a Dead Kennedys like hardcore, or they'll look at Bad Brains as like a hardcore band.
Well, Bad Brains is hardcore.
And that's kind of where I'm at.
They
here,
started as punk
originally.
but they did develop into a hardcore band.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point of being inclusive, because on the local level, for a band like mine, we kind of have our own sound. Easy Uzis has their own sound. They can definitely be called a rock band. We've been labeled metal or stoner metal and stuff like that. But there's not a lot of that, in Florida, at least not in Melbourne. But we play a ton of punk shows, and that's because the punks, they just want to play. They just want to have fun.
It's fun to mix things up too, instead of just watching the same 5 type of bands play in a row, which is okay, but it's nice to see different.
I am under the, if it's a metal show, an alternative show, it doesn't matter what the show is. You put a punk opener on that show and it gets it going.
Yeah, the festivals I play in Europe, it's not just punk and hardcore.
Right.
It's punk, metal, hardcore, funk. There's some jazz bands.
Yeah.
There's rock. There's hip hop.
Right.
It's all mixed. It's not just one type of music.
And you can see that in certain bands like Fishbone is they're a jazz punk hip hop band.
They were
you
a
know?
big staple in the punk community for a long time.
Yeah.
I saw them last with who is it? Another English band.
English Beat.
Oh
yeah,
I was there. Yeah, I was there. That was great. They're one of my favorites
Another
live.
good band, yeah.
Go Bordello's coming up. They're another one of my favorite live.
Fun.
Kind of a gypsy punk thing. But yeah, Fishbone. I saw them at Sports Page, and Rocky from Suicidal Tendencies was playing guitar with them.
Oh, nice.
Oh, fun.
It was
OG, man. Yeah.
Man, it
That
was
is
great.
OG.
Yeah,
That is-
Suicidal's one of my all-time favorite.
Yeah. Now, are they punk or hardcore?
I mean, they're LA thrash.
I know.
It's
like a different
Suicidal,
genre.
Yeah.
That album that's a hardcore. That first record's hardcore, man. That is just.
I agree.
nasty.
I agree. Yeah.
It is. No, you're
I
right.
still listen to that record to this
I do
day.
too.
It's
Yeah,
one of
Mike
my
Murr on
favorites.
vocals. I mean, and then I followed them to what, Perpetual Groove or some.
Oh, Infectious Groove.
Infectious
Yeah.
Grooves.
Yeah.
That was a good album.
So the bassist of Suicidal and Infectious Grooves is now the bassist of Metallica.
That's right.
And he has been for a while.
Yep.
So we're not talking about just a bunch of juveniles playing some music here. We're talking
Established musicians.
Metallica has an album in the Smithsonian. Master of Puppets is in the Smithsonian.
And they grew up on punk and hardcore.
100%.
Metallica always supported. They actually brought Agnostic Front to one of Kirk Hammett's personal shows in San Francisco. He invited them to play on that bill.
Right.
Which
That's
is
cool.
very cool for those guys.
Yeah. And you see, I think Agnostic Front's playing Rockville this year.
Yes. And Sick of It All.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Jane's Addiction.
Right.
I gotta
And
go.
Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I gotta
yeah,
go.
yeah.
I gotta go. It's gonna
James-
be epic.
James
This
It
year.
is
Rick's, man,
Rockville.
yeah.
Yeah. But don't miss out on those, types of things going on there. Get a lesson. Again, I'm an education character, so I'm always interested in the backstory, interested in, why we do the things we do. And, punk rock has a large culture of why we do the things we do. It's easy to go to Hot Topic and, say that you're a part of it.
Just grab a shirt off the rack.
Right. Although I did buy a Minor Threat shirt there once, which was kind of interesting.
I'm done here.
What? No tour dates? No, it's not a real shirt.
Yeah. But so good talk on punk rock today. And there is a lot coming up. On June 11th, put that in your calendar. We're gonna have some fun in EGAD. And there's a lot of different small fests going on around Florida. There's the Punk Rock Flea Market in Fort Pierce, happens regularly. His next one's going to be a metal one. Sanford's having a punk fest. Lakeland's having a punk fest.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go to Sanford one.
Yeah.
Sanford's a fun scene.
At some point, I'd love to see all these kind of connect.
Right.
And maybe we can create a little
mini tour.
mini tour between all these. I think that would be pretty amazing.
Especially if we could make maybe a line with like Grind for Life. Mike Rogers.
Yeah, Mike's awesome.
He's got a big old. I mean, his Grind for Life series is now like growing to like
He
8
does a
parks,
lot for the
10
community
parks.
and skateboarding. Yep.
Yeah, ends up in Tampa, which also has a pretty good scene.
Right.
So, I mean, if you align just with a couple of his dates, so
They
you
were
get the
just in
skateboarding.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The skate
No,
park
you're
in
right.
Tampa.
That's actually a good.
Well,
Thank you.
Anything could happen here on Harbor City Live TV, right?
Yeah, right. And tonight in Harbor City, I mean, you guys might not see this in time, but we're going to do a fundraiser. The Space Coast Young Professionals with the Chamber of Commerce is throwing Harbor City Local a fundraiser.
Yep. Melbourne Regional Chamber.
Yep.
At Intracoastal.
Yep, that's going to be fun. We'll have
I'll be there.
information.
Oh yeah.
We'll be selling local compilations. And we're also looking for bands for Volume 4 coming out this year. So we have 3 volumes of all local music that we've put on CDs, and you can come and check out what Brevard has to offer by purchasing those CDs. You can also find most of them on Amazon, and all that money does go back to charity. And we have made some pretty strong partnerships in the last couple of weeks where you're going to be seeing more information on what we're doing with Wickham Road Music and how we have our scholarship program coming out pretty soon to help kids that can't afford lessons get lessons. You'll see Groove Shack tonight at the event, and we talked about not being afraid to join a punk band and go and do something. Groove Shack's kind of leading that a little bit around here with, more typical rock, but at least it's, in a good direction. Yeah, so come out to any Harbor City local event, say what's up. I got a whole pocket of high fives and hugs for you.
Right.
Everything goes back to the charity. We've talked with the King Center about doing an event in 2023. And we have our Space Coast Music Festival in this November. We'll be putting out some more information on vendors and musicians for that. And then we're also talking with Iron Oak on doing something kind of a resurgence of the Iron Fest that Carlos Santana used to do. We're going to do that in January. So starting 2023, you're going to see 4 Harbor City local festivals per year as major events. So we'll have basically Iron Fest, a King Fest with the King Center, a 518 Fest, and then the Space Coast Music Festival. We're also looking for other community partnerships. So we will have some other stuff, but those will be the 4 major things each year. And again, most of what we do does go to charity. We're also looking at some educational opportunities coming up for a Harbor City school. We're creating some partnerships there too to help at-risk kids that might not be focused on college immediately, come out of high school with a career direction, a culture, and some sort of art, and help them learn how to learn. Because a lot of those fall through the crack type kids they just don't know how to learn. They've never really been taught how to be a part of an education system. The system has kind of failed them. And so we're hoping to kind of build that up a little bit. Hit us up on our socials. And we have our Harbor City Instagram, our Harbor City Facebook. We have our YouTube where you're going to be seeing this. And if you have something interesting you want to put out, let's get it recorded. Let's get it made into something that we can put on our YouTube channel. We already have an interesting piece put together by Jesse McMinn called Western Psychedelic. We're looking to get some skate vid out real soon. But we're looking for really, if you have something interesting that you want to put out, if you want to put together a community segment, let Harbor City Local help, and we'll get it on the YouTube channel. But really, that's, I think, about all we got for today.
Yeah, you just want to introduce a outgoing track after we'll let maybe Rob.
Closing remarks.
Little
anything?
Rob.
Just want to say thank you guys for having me on the show, Steve, and just support local. Stay away from Amazon and the malls.
That's right.
Keep us alive. That's what's going to keep this community going here.
100%. So to finish up here, we do have a track from the Harbor City Volume 1 compilation by Best Supporting Actor. This song is called Dex. It reminds me a lot of old school Green Day. That's why I grabbed it.
Until next time. Thank you guys.